Hare Krishna. We are in the driver's seat, but are we? To be in the driver's seat has a literal as well as a metaphorical meaning. When a person is in the driver's seat, that person is in the control of the car. So that person controls the direction of the travel, the speed of the travel. Basically, to be in the driver's seat literally means to be driving the car and to be in control. Now from there, it has acquired a broader connotation where it means to be in a commanding position. So for example, if in a match a team is in a very commanding position, controlling position, the other team is practically reeling at the rings being repeatedly pounded, then it is said that this team is in a commanding position, is in the driver's seat. So now we are in the driver's seat. What does it mean? Here we refers to the soul. The soul is in the driver's seat with respect to the arrangement of the soul with the body. We all know the car body metaphor, in which the soul is the driver of the bodily car. So the soul is in the driver's seat in the sense that the soul is, as per the soul's desires, the body acts, just as per the driver's desire the car moves. So in that sense, the soul is in the driver's seat. But although we are literally in the driver's seat, are we actually in the driver's seat? Normally you would think of literal and actual as the same, but there are other factors involved. Suppose a person who is driving a car and has a person sitting next, and this person who is sitting next is constantly distracting. Hey, watch this, look this, go there, see this, and turn this way, and this person is constantly distracting. And now if the driver gets distracted, then the result of that will be the driver will be lost. The driver will be lost. So therefore it is important for the driver to not get distracted. If the driver submits to the constant distracting speech of the partner, then the driver will get misled, and basically although the driver is in the driver's seat, the driver will not be in the driver's seat. In the sense, the driver will not be controlling, it will be the partner who will be controlling. So we can compare the mind with this partner who is sitting next to us, and the mind constantly distracts us. Why don't you eat this? Why don't you watch this? Why don't you touch this? Why don't you do that? And like that, the mind keeps distracting us. We have certain purposes for our life, but the mind distracts us from those purposes by its often trivial and sometimes lethal, self-destructively lethal agendas, its ideas. So if we submit to the mind passively, just doing whatever the mind says, then we are not in the driver's seat. Actually, we let the mind, we cede control to the mind, and that's how we get manipulated. And that's why the Bhagavad Gita tells us in 6.5, Uddhared atmanatmanam natmanam avisadayet atmaiva hi atmano bandhur atmaiva ripuratmanaha. So Uddhared atmanatmanam, elevate yourself with the mind, do not degrade yourself. Natmanam avasadayet, don't degrade yourself with the mind. Atmaiva hi atmano bandhur, that the mind is our friend. Atmaiva ripuratmanaha, the mind is our enemy also. So what does all this mean? It means that if we let ourselves be influenced by the mind and we just let ourselves be misled, then the mind will become our enemy. So we have to be in the driver's position. And now one good thing for us is that the mind cannot push us off and take over the driver's seat. We will always be in the driver's position, but the mind can distract us, and then distract us by its continuous chatter, which can then deflect us from, make us take detours. So that we can neglect the mind And if we neglect the mind, then we will not be distracted from our journey, from our purposes. At the same time, because the mind is incessantly speaking, we will be affected by it. And just neglect it is not easy. That's why we have to understand that there is another partner. Imagine a car where there are 3 seats, and there is actually another partner on, we could say, on the other side, that is the super soul. And he speaks to us internally, although it's difficult for us to hear. He speaks to us externally also through Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. So when we tune into him, when we start hearing him, and we start acting according to what he is suggesting, and we stay focused on that, then the mind's chatter doesn't influence us so much. And that way we can stay productive. And not only that, once we start hearing the super soul and living according to his guidance, then we can also perceive and evaluate the mind's chatter. Sometimes the mind may speak sensible things also, but they have to be separated from its senseless suggestions. And that we can do when we have a higher reference point for our evaluation. If the mind is the only guide, then the mind will seduce us. But if we have a higher guide, then we can evaluate the mind suggestions, and we can accept those suggestions which are good and reject those suggestions. And as we keep rejecting those suggestions again and again, the mind will stop giving those unwholesome suggestions, and that way the mind will become our friend, because it will give us good suggestions. And that way we can elevate ourselves with the mind. So we are in the driver's seat, but are we? That means we are in the driver's seat, but if we are listening to the mind suggestions, then we are placing the mind in the driver's seat. But if we want to be in the driver's seat, firstly we neglect the mind, and then we accept Krishna as our guide. And when we act according to his guidance, then we actually come in the driver's seat, not just physically but also functionally, in terms of taking our life in a direction which is in harmony with our enduring purposes, with our long-term values, with our ultimate highest interests. Thank you. Hare Krishna.